Welcome to Spark Faith with me, Dr. Kris Sargent. This show is about renewed health, rooted in truth, and restored by grace. What does finding health look like for you? Do you have a vision for your future self and a way to get there? I'm Dr. Kris, and after 33 years in functional medicine and a lifelong journey through brain health, weight loss, hormones, mindset, and faith, I know that real transformation doesn't come from willpower or white knuckling your way to wellness. It comes from gratitude. Honoring your body as the temple that God created. This show is about body stewardship, not shame. It's about rewiring your mindset, your metabolism, and your spirit to find lasting health without the grind. I'll help you cut through the noise, see opportunities instead of obstacles, and finally live the healthy, purposeful life you were created for. Let's spark faith and transformation together. Spark Faith starts now. Hey, y'all. This is Dr. Kris Sargent. Welcome to Spark Faith. And I have a really different show today. If you've joined me over the last 3 episodes, and if you haven't, go back, hit subscribe so you don't miss any of them. In the last 3 episodes, we talked about why you're really not broken, right? We talked about why your body just won't seem to chill out, calm down, feels like you're just tired and wired all the time, and why sometimes change feels so hard when you think you should be able to do something, but actually you're just exhausted and haven't really named that for yourself, right? We talked about, we named how shame, stress, and getting really depleted can really quietly block any progress that you might want to have in your health goals. So we also really focused on why it's important to have a firm foundation of safety, right? Physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, to regulate your nervous system and restore your mitochondrial cellular energy first. So, and that's really, that's my Living F.R.E.S.H collective and what this is all about. So we've talked about foundation, we've talked about regulation, we've talked about energy, and today we're going to talk about strength. And since you followed through on the first 3 steps of getting a good foundation started for yourself, this is how we're going to live this out in the Living F.R.E.S.H collective, is to live this out, right? We're going to create that foundation. We're going to regulate our immune system and our nervous system and our cortisol and all of those things. We're going to learn how to replete and fill our mitochondrial tanks, if you will, to have the energy we need, which in turn builds strength from the inside out, right? So this is just another step in building resilience and vitality for yourself. And we don't have to do that alone. I'm creating this Living F.R.E.S.H collective that we can do this in community and support others on our journey and have others support us on their journey. It's super cool. So it's not open yet. It's going to be. I'm still working on it. So hang in there, be patient. It's coming. So I'm going to start with a little piece of scripture today. And it's a proverb, so this isn't something, super preachy or anything, but this one might make you think just a little bit. So, better a patient person than a warrior. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. So better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. This is Proverbs 16:32. And so really, this is going to assume strength, right? There's a warrior, And there's going to be some kind of battle because that's just life sometimes, right? We all go through seasons, but it really redefines what makes that warrior super effective. And it's patience, not something that I am good at. I will just be straight up, right? That is just not my strong suit. However, I have also learned uh, that it can become an ally and it can help really enhance relationships and a whole bunch of things that is not a part of today. So, really, this scripture assumes a battle, it assumes strength, and it redefines what a warrior needs to be effective. It's not intensity, right? It's not pushing through, not always. There are certain seasons that us warriors have to be like that, but it doesn't have to always be that way. This is not a non-stop offense, right? This is really highlighting strategy and restraint and sustainability. This is stewardship at its finest. We steward our foundation to make sure that it stays strong. We steward our nervous system regulation. We steward our energy when we don't have the energy to move forward. We need to recoup that, right? And today we're talking about strength, and strength is not always about pushing through, right? That's always been my motto. I'm like, ah. But that doesn't always get us where we want to go. In fact, sometimes we can find ourselves back about 10 steps when we thought we were moving forward. So, a wise warrior isn't the one who charges the hardest. It's the one who is strategic and knows when to advance, right? When to hold ground and when to recover. Because strategy is really going to determine whether strength is going to last. So we want to move forward with vitality, not feel like we're slogging through the mud or pushing uphill all the time. So strength is really the ability to move forward well, right? We're no longer going to talk about why things didn't work. We're going to talk about what allows progress now, right? Strength is not about motivation. We've talked about that in previous episodes. Strength is not some kind of hype. We don't always need a pep talk. Sometimes we do, but we don't always need a pep talk. Strength is about resilience. It's this quiet inner strength, right? And if you like this definition, you can keep it. But strength is the ability to remain steady spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, without abandoning yourself. Right? This is not laying down and letting the train run over you and getting up anyway, right? Strength is the ability to remain steady without abandoning yourself. So steady doesn't mean passive, right? Steady is strong. Steady is stable. It means consistency. And I know for some of y'all that you just shut down, right? That's like a 4-letter word, consistency, even though it's not. It's like that though, right? Ugh, consistency. Whether that consistency is like reading your Bible for 10 minutes every day or having a healthy breakfast every morning, whatever those small steps are that you're taking, those little pieces are part of your consistency. There are very few people who go in and overhaul their whole life all at once. There's only a few people on the planet that really want to do that. There may be a few of those who just don't want to accept the fact that they actually need to do this in baby steps. And most people do much better if we can stack some habits, and that's what's going to create that consistency over time because it's more doable, right? It's not like, overwhelming and trying to do too many things all at once. Steady also means recoverable, right? It doesn't mean like crash and burn and then like get just enough energy, like putting 2 gallons of gas in your car to go 500 miles, right? It's like recoverable. Okay, I'm tired today and I need to take a couple extra days to get feeling better. Okay, we need recovery time and we have to allow that without abandoning ourselves, right? This is the not abandoning yourself. And then finding those sustainable steps. And that's going to happen in the Living F.R.E.S.H collective, is finding those sustainable steps. So this is really the difference between like short bursts of effort with burnout, right, on its heels, and long-term steady forward movement. Consistent. So really, resilience is what allows progress without creating the next crash, right? Resilience is going to allow progress without creating the next crash. So strength and resilience are capacity and margin, right? So capacity is really just stored strength. It's not like a limit, like my water bottle can only have so much of a capacity. This is not that. It's just stored excess, stored strength. And it isn't just what you can do, it's what you have left over after you've done your due, right? After your super long, hard day, do you have anything truly left over in your tank? And if the answer is usually no, then we need to start building that capacity and building some stored strength. Margin? What's margin anyway? If you open a book, we have margins, right? Those, if you had to read the words all the way to the corners of every page, it would be actually really hard on our eyes. So they leave a margin so that we can shift to the next line, right? And that's the same thing that we need in our life. We need to have a little bit of margin on our page for today in order to get through. When we have emotional margin, like your social battery, or you haven't been under a ton of emotional strain, you can create some emotional margin by mindfulness, by being silent, by being still, maybe by reading scripture, by journaling. This is also going to help you create mental margin at the same time, right? Maybe you need less input, right? Podcasts, reading books, watching shows, reading more self-help books. Maybe you need less input and less distractions and more processing time. And what does that processing time need to look like for you? Is it like giving yourself 5 minutes in the car without input, right? Is it getting up 10 minutes earlier to have like quiet time that you can hear yourself think, right? What is that mental margin? And then physical margin, right? If you're always getting sick, if you're always feeling tired, then we need to create a physical margin by restoring your nervous system, regulating it, and then making sure that your mitochondria, the little energy bundle makers in your cells, can create some physical margin for yourself. If everything feels like it requires a maximum effort, then your strength is leaking, right? It's like training without recovery. It's working 18 hours a day, falling into bed, sleeping 6 hours, and doing that all over again, over and over and over, week after week, month after month, year after year. It's relationships that you might have that are a drain instead of a support. And after taking care of my mom for 5 years, I can tell you that it's important to have those supportive relationships when that draining relationship, if I'm honest, is a continuous place in your life. Or maybe there's a way that you need to remove yourself from that situation. So if your life only works at full throttle, strength is probably not being built, right? It's being spent. So let's go back to this warrior. No warrior fights every battle at full force, day in, day out, right? Seasons, absolutely. But strategy is what is going to protect your capacity. Physical strength, we need to match our load to each season. But in order to do that, we've got to create some strength. And strength for you may look different than strength for me, right? Maybe you haven't worked out for years. Maybe you've never been off the couch. And now you're like, wow, maybe I'd like to start moving my body. Great. That's awesome. That means hauling yourself to the mailbox 5 times a day, maybe, is exactly what you need to start with, right? Maybe getting some light weights, maybe getting on YouTube and doing some beginner mobility and stability training, like some easy things just to get familiar with how your body actually feels. Maybe for some, you're rebuilding after an injury. Maybe you were in shape and then you had a big injury or you needed some surgery or something like that. And now you've got to rebuild after that injury or surgery or some kind of stress in your life, right? So you may be in a rebuilding phase, or you may be like full on, right? Where you're doing muscle and resistance training and you're doing some cardio, right? Maybe even you're in this other season where you've got some goals, like endurance goals, maybe a 5K or a half marathon, or like some of my other crazy friends that do Ironman. Like, I'm not that person, but hey, great for them, right? None of those things are like morally superior to each other. And comparison is definitely not a place you want to put yourself. Oh, well, this and she's and he's and all of those. The only place that you need to compare is where were you yesterday? Where were you last week? And where are you going to be next week? We can really only compare ourselves to ourselves. And if we're doing little bitty things that are going to make ourselves better over time, that's going to add up in a year. It's going to add up in a month, right? You're going to see differences. So, saying that because somebody's doing an Ironman makes them morally superior to you who's just starting, that's not true. So let's not put some untruths in our heads that just really don't need to be there. But a mistake would be to be choosing a load that your body cannot recover from, right? It's choosing a load that your body can't recover from. It's going to the gym and going full out on a day when maybe you just don't feel good. It's going like, I'm going to do that 5K today, even though I haven't been off the couch for a year. No, right? Recovery is part of strength. Sleep is part of strength. Fuel is part of strength. So wise strength matches the load to the season that you're actually in, right? Wise strength matches the load to the season that you're actually in. What about mental and emotional strength as strategy? Let's integrate some resilience beyond the body. And emotional strength isn't toughness, right? It's actually vulnerability in a safe place. So whether that's the need to find a therapist or your best friend, finding that emotional strength is being vulnerable with those around you. And this is a really hard place for me, and was a hard place for me, to find those places where I could feel safe to be vulnerable. But once that place has been established, that has created different type of emotional strength. And that can be the same way for you. So I'm going to encourage you to find those safe places to be able to create a little bit of emotional strength. It's feeling steady, right? Not like I'm on my last nerve. I'm going to be reactive. It's not having this anxious energy just leaking your physical energy all the time, because anxiety will definitely leak physical energy and create fatigue. It's really about staying present when things start to wobble or completely go sideways, right? Mental strength is not like second guessing yourself all the time. It's not overthinking. And there's a great book called Overthinking. I can't remember the author's name, but it's a great little book. It's not needing urgency to feel productive, right? It's that oh, that need to always be distracted by doing. And I've certainly been guilty of being a human doing versus a human being. And learning how to be is part of that mental strength that we all have to create. So let's um let's think about it this way. If rest is making you anxious, that's not a motivation problem, right? That's an emotional and mental strength issue. So just like any other muscle, like your biceps, you have to train that. And that's again, this is not something that's going to happen overnight, just like training your bicep isn't going to happen overnight. But emotional strength is trainable. This is not a personality trait necessarily, and it's not a spiritual failure. Mindfulness, cutting out the noise, right? Maybe just some spa music, something like that can give you a place, just journaling for 2 or 3 minutes, writing down 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for. Staying in, excuse me, staying in that mentally forward space where you're not letting yourself overthink, and run in the background all the time. Okay. So strength include also really is about choosing your support wisely. And I touched on that just a minute ago. And the Living F.R.E.S.H collective is going to become hopefully part of that strategy for you. This is where warriors don't ever have to fight alone, right? This is not a place where you need to feel weak for asking for support. This is really how we're going to protect our strength over time, right? When we isolate, it often leads to misjudging our capacity. Does that make sense? We think we can do more than we maybe need to be doing, or maybe we feel like we can just keep going. And if we're actually honest with ourselves and can be honest with others, sometimes people can see in us what we can't always see in ourselves. And so finding a community that can say, hey, have you thought about rest? Have you thought about, do you need to put some time aside for strength training? Do you need to put some time aside for journaling? Do you need to put some time aside to look at the situation that you're in and see if you can brainstorm with somebody about some different options that you might not be able to see, because sometimes we can't see, right, that whole forest through the trees that were just right in front of us. And so isolation leads to misjudging our capacity. We can start overreaching and trying to do too much. And we can also just burn out quietly. And really, that just forces more isolation. We create a lot of untrue stories about ourselves when we go into isolation. And we need that feedback from other people in a safe place about how you're actually showing up in the world. When people can tell you, hey, I find that you're often very kind, or you're always positive. What's going on with you? Maybe I see that you're having some struggles here with whatever that might be. So when we can show up for people who love us, then we can love on them and they can love on us. And that's the kind of support I want to create. Some people can thrive on this do-it-yourself for a season. I certainly did for a long time. But I know that there are a lot of y'all out there that really want some structure, you want some pacing, you want some accountability, and really understanding that wisdom is knowing which one of those things you actually need right now. And if you're unclear, having a community say, hey, well, what if you just started with this little thing? right? And that's what's going to create strength over time. And the strongest choice is often the most honest one. Ooh. I know that's sometimes hard because sometimes it's not the most obvious, or sometimes it's the one that we don't want to look at, but it's often the strongest choice that is the most honest one. So let's think about the Living F.R.E.S.H collective as not a place where people are going to get fixed necessarily, but it's about forming a foundation, regulating, creating energy, finding a new strength, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whatever, that's going to last over time. These are rhythms that will support forward motion. Are we going to fall back? Of course, we're humans. Have I? Absolutely. And I think I've even said it in more recent podcasts, right? I kind of crashed and burned a few weeks ago. So I've had to really learn how to take a minute, take a beat, right? And figure out how I can change my rhythms that will support more resilient forward motion. So Living F.R.E.S.H is going to exist to help people build strength that they can actually sustain, right? I want to help you actually create and build strength that is sustainable. And I know not everyone wants that. That's fine. I get it. Strength isn't going to be about pushing harder, right? It's about being prepared to keep going, right? It's renewed health slowly over time, right? In truth, right? With a ton of grace. I love you guys so much. I can't wait till next week. Tell me what you like in the comments. Tell me what you don't like. I would love to tailor this Living F.R.E.S.H collective for you. So I would appreciate some feedback. Hit like, subscribe, and find me at Dr. Kris Sargent on all the socials. Love you guys. Bye-bye. You've been listening to Spark Faith with me, Dr. Kris Sargent. This show is about renewed health, rooted in truth, and restored by grace. Tune in every Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific on the Transformation Talk Radio for more simple, faith-fueled steps to live the vision God placed in your heart. Are you ready to take the next step? Schedule a discovery call or connect with me at drkrissargent.com. That's DRKRIS Sargent.com. While you're there, download my free ebook, Endless Energy, the 6 non-negotiable keys to endless energy, and sign up for an upcoming masterclass. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share the show, and I'd love to connect with you on social media at Dr. Kris Sargent. Let's keep sparking faith and transformation together. Can't wait to see y'all next time.